Just because you want to be there doesn't mean you belong there. Hi, my name is Kelly Theophil, and this is Live a Life You Love the podcast, and I am your emotional intelligence coach, and I'm here to help you go from simply surviving to thriving by teaching you how to manage your thoughts and emotions, and then use that information to create momentum in your life. Today, we want to talk about seasons. There's this also that says, seasons, but treat me, do the good money thought. But it's something that is coming up a lot where I'm realizing that a lot of people have been using these few words with me. Tell me if they are familiar to you. They keep saying that they feel stuck, they feel stagnant, and their life feels slow. Now, when people tell me words like this, most times it is because they feel that their life isn't going in a particular direction, or they lack purpose and meaning in their lives. And while sometimes that is true, a lot of people sometimes take for granted that there is a possibility that a season in your life is coming to an end. And because it's coming to an end, you have now become uncomfortable. You feel stuck. You feel like you're not going anywhere. And so today we want to talk about the fact of, is it time that you make your grand exit from a season that you're in so you can prep for the new one? You know, when rainy season starts, it's very naive of us to think, well, there ain't nothing on for tomorrow. You're not in your rainy season, so pack your umbrella. And so it therefore means you have to be prepared for whatever season is coming on, but you have to be willing to admit that summer is over. Well, here in dry season, it is over. You have to be willing to come to that agreement that in dry season is over and you need to prepare for the wet season. And so today we want to talk about what does it look like if it is a possibility that your season has expired and it's time to adjust to facilitate a new one that is coming. And so the first thing that I want you to ask yourself is, am I absolutely exhausted and drained? Now, there's a vast difference from tiredness and being exhausted and drained. All of us are adults. We're all tired. I promise you, we're all tired. But sometimes even in that tiredness, there's a sense of satisfaction. When you're walking your purpose, you lie down on your bed at night and you say, you're not that tired, but I feel happy. I feel content. I feel grateful to have worked alongside my children. I feel good that my job was fulfilling. This is not what we're talking about. When I say exhausted, I mean you feel as though you're carrying on, cannot carry on anymore. Like you've reached your limit, that it hurts to stay in this position, and that it is this intense feeling of dissatisfaction as if the emotion is too much. Like, you ever had a moment where you reach to look and you feel yourself breaking? And I know a lot of y'all can relate to that. And so this is that exhaustion and being drained. And so, yes, sometimes your work environment can be horrible, but have you considered that it's possible that is because your season has changed? You are literally not realizing that it's time for you to either move on to something different or switch courses. And so we have to understand that sometimes that exhaustion and that feeling drained is because you are outgrowing your space and that season has changed and it is time for you to move on. So ask yourself this question: have you reached your limit? Have you reached the point where it's time to really sit down and say, you know what? I've had enough. I've done all I could here. I've given it my best. This is more than tiredness. I am exhausted. I am drained. I am fed up. So that's the first thing to ask yourself about your season that you're in, to find out if it's possible that it's time that the season has ended and it's time to pivot. The second thing is, are you, and this is a very Caribbean phrase, are you spinning top in what? Meaning, are you not making an impact anymore where you used to make an impact? And so your season could possibly have ended if you are no longer making a difference where you are. I think sometimes we underscore how important it is for us as humans to matter in the spaces that we're in. You don't ever want to be doing something for the kicks and giggles. You want lives to be impacted. You want minds to be changed. You want people to look at you and see that you are giving and you're helping in that space. So is it that you are now in a space where no matter how hard you try, no matter the blood, sweat, and tears, no difference is being made? So is it then, in a case like that, that your season has ended, you've given all that you've given, and it's possible that somebody with a fresh pair of eyes or a different idea needs to step into space because you have not grown to the point where your assignment is possibly different? Now, one of the things that I have had to understand in my own life is, just because you want to be there doesn't mean you belong there. We have to be okay with that. Just because you want to be there doesn't mean you belong there. We sometimes like to put ourselves in everything and in all things, And that is not the case all the time. You are not supposed to run all lanes. And sometimes it's hard for us to accept that we can't be all things to everybody. So just because you're in this space and it's comfortable, does it mean though that it's time for you to move on? So that's the second point. Is it that you're spinning up in mud? You've given all that you can give. And even though you're repeating things that would have been successful before, it no longer works for wherever you are, and it no longer works for you. And you have to now sit back and say, you know what? My time here has ended. It's time to make room for somebody else to do it, as well as I need to start looking for what is new for me. Then the last thing is you are doing the absolute bare minimum. You are doing as little as possible. So you're clocking. Work starts at 8, you reach 9. Breakfast end at 10. After 10, you give them an hour work. Then you go to lunch for 12. You give them until 1, and then by 2, you're ready to leave. And it's not because you're lazy, yeah? This is what I'm saying. It's because you've reached a point where I have had enough. I'm going to give you the bare minimum. I'll sharpen up a pencil for half an hour if necessary. It's because you don't have the energy within you to do it anymore. What this looks like is called autopilot. You are absolutely on autopilot. You are sleepwalking through your stages, sleepwalking through your days, because you just know you have to show up, not because you want to. You don't do much, because you don't have the drive. You don't have the inspiration, and it no longer feels fulfilling to you. So you just do what you have to do. And just understand this is not because you're lazy. We have big group of lazy people, and this is not what we're talking to. This is, you know for yourself that you're an upstanding person, you're a hardworking person, you give your best, and you're not doing that. Then that means you need to really ask yourself, is my season ending? Have I given all? And because I've given all, I have nothing left to give, so I'm doing my bare minimum. And let me tell you this, if you are in a space where you're doing your bare minimum, be fair. Because whoever it is that you might be doing bare minimum with, whatever organization, whatever it looks like, they deserve better. They do know. I know somebody who I'm born, they don't deserve better because they're nasty. We're not talking about that. We're talking about cases where the person deserves better, you deserve better, and so bare minimum is unfair to you and is unfair to them. So if you fall into any of these 3 categories, I want you to really sit down and ask yourself, is my season over? Has it ended? So what does that look like? Are you absolutely exhausted and drained? It's not the same as being tired and satisfied. You are empty. Your gas tank is on E. 2, you are no longer making an impact. You're spinning top in the mud. No matter how hard you try, no difference is being made. And 3, you are doing the bare minimum. You're doing as little as possible. You will take this and nothing more. It is possible that your season has ended. Now, all that to say, it doesn't mean that the space that you are in isn't toxic, guys. This is not what I'm saying. There are some cases where there's a frustration there. And sometimes seasons change because of the environment, and sometimes it changes because you has changed. You have changed, sorry. So you need to decide which is it, regardless of what is the reason. The point is, it may be time to make an exit. So I really want you to think about it. If you are having trouble figuring out which one you are in, or if your season is ending, you can simply book a consultation or with me. We can talk about it, talk about the coaching program, and decide what we can now do to help you transition out of that season into a new one. So I'm Kelly Teofil, and this has been Live a Life You Love, the podcast.